Alright, topic 5, test review. The first couple questions looking at midpoint and distance. So you have to use two different formulas. You need to use the distance formula to calculate the length of AB and the midpoint formula to calculate the midpoint of AB. So the distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So you label your points x1, y1, x2, y2. We'll plug those points into the distance formula equation. So x2 is the number 4, x1 is 6, y2 is 3, y1 is 7. So you need to take this equation and plug it into your calculator and figure out what the length of AB is. So I'll show you this one. We got the square root of parentheses 4 minus 6 squared plus 3 minus 7 squared. So the distance from A to B is 4.5 units. Because we're rounding to the nearest tenth, 4.5. The midpoint of AB is a different formula, and you have to distinguish between these two. It's x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So we take our same x1, y1, x2, y2 and plug them into the midpoint formula. Add our x's together, 6 plus 4, and add our y's together, 7 plus 3. Oops. So 6 plus 4 is 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 7 plus 3 is 10, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So our midpoint is at the location 5. 5 is a coordinate location of AB. Alright, so for this next problem, you're doing the same thing. Now you're trying to find the distance from A to B using the distance formula. And you're trying to find the midpoint from A to B using the midpoint formula. Alright, so take your time, use those points, and find the distance and the midpoint of A and B. Alright, these questions came directly off your homework. A lot of you guys were struggling with these. It says find A, x, y to the nearest tenth. I want you to find the length of x and y to the nearest tenth. Most of you guys were struggling with this, and what I recommended doing was to figure out what is the coordinate location of x. Where is x on the graph? So if you start at the origin, you go -2 back and +2, 4, 6 up. X is at the location -2, +6. Y is at the location over 4, down 4, because this graph is counting by 2's. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the first two problems. I'm going to use the distance formula to find the length of x and y. So x2 minus x1, that would be 4 minus -2 squared plus y2 minus y1, that'd be 4 minus 6 squared. Okay, I'm going to ask my calculator to do that for me again. The square root of, I think it was 4 minus negative 6 squared plus, nope, it's 4 minus negative 2 squared plus 4 minus 6 squared. 4 minus negative 2 squared plus 4 minus 6 squared. Let me double check that one more time. 4 minus negative 2 squared plus 4 minus 6 squared. Enter. 2. The answer is 2 there. It is 2 log. Oh, let me try that again. 4 minus negative 2 close parentheses squared plus 4 minus 6 close parentheses squared. Man, those parentheses make a huge difference. 6.32. So we'll round that to 6.3. The distance from x to y, or the answer for letter A, is 6.3. Alright, and it says B, it says find the midpoint, which is B, the coordinates of the midpoint for x, y. So we have to go back and do x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Finding the midpoint of the line segment. Plugging in our points and trying to calculate. So if I add my x's together, 4 plus negative 2 divided by 2, and 4 plus 6 divided by 2. 4 plus negative 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 plus 6 is 10, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my midpoint is at the location 1, 5. So a lot of us tried to count this, but it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, because the graph counts by 2. So half of 10 is 5, 2, 4, 5. And half of 6 is 3, 1, or 2, 3. Gets you a really weird location. So looking at my answer originally and looking at my answer now, it looks like I did a bunch of mistakes somewhere, because this is the location 1, 1. And that's what happens when you pull the wrong point off the grid. So this should be a negative 4 right here, not a positive 4. So this should be a negative 4 right here, not a positive 4. So negative 4 plus 6 divided by 2 is 1. That means that the coordinate of the midpoint should be at 1, 1. So be careful when you're pulling points off your graph. That means that my distance is actually incorrect as well. So I need to go back and change. It's x2 minus x1 plus y2. This number should be a negative 4. I need to go back and correct that. So copy, change that to a negative 4, and now my distance is 11.66. So 11.7 is the actual distance when you use the correct number. 11.7 is the correct answer when you use the correct number. So the purpose of these problems is not supposed to be distance midpoint. The purpose of these problems is supposed to be, can you pull the correct points off the graph? So if you're screaming at me through your screen, we have this point x, and we'll try and carefully pull that point off. X is at negative 12, negative 6. 12 to the left and 6 down. Y is at, be careful, the graph is really weird, 3 to the right and 3 down. So you need to take those points and you need to use the distance formula to find the distance from A to B. So find the distance formula, the distance from x to y, and we're trying to find the midpoint between x and y. So carefully working through those questions, making sure you can get accurate answers. Okay, this is the scenario. It says given point A and that M is the midpoint of AB, find point B. So it says given A points, find the other midpoint. We have a line segment AB. And we know that M is the midpoint. Alright? I put all my X's up here, and I put all my Y's down here. So I'm going to list the coordinate location for my X's. The A is at the location 7, -8. And M is at the location 14, -2. So the game here is, how do I get from X to the midpoint? That's by doing +7. So I need to do that again to get to the other endpoint. 14 plus 7 is 21. Okay, same thing down here on the Y's. How do I get from -6 to +2? That's +6. And then do that again, +6, to get to the coordinate of the other endpoint. So B is the coordinate location, 21, 4. Right? You're going to do that same type of math here. It's a question for you to work on and for you to practice. Now we got our mid segments. It says find the length of CD right here. So we had a lot of trouble with this. You guys were struggling with it, and I'm gonna introduce a little formula. So if you're watching, maybe this will help you. 2 times the mid segment is always equal to the long side. So we know what the mid segment is, we know what the long side is, we can just kind of plug in information. I do not know how long the mid segment is. So 2 times x is equal to the long side, which is 16. So 2x equals 16, divide those sides by 2, x equals 8. And you get 8 right here. And then if you remember that property that they have is the mid-segment half the length of the third side. Yes. So if you remember 16 divided by 2, a lot quicker. If you don't remember it, you can kind of use the formula. Same thing here. It says, what is the length of QP? The length of this line right here. We don't know how long that is. But we do know that 2 times the mid-segment is equal to the length of the third side. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 15. And QP equals 15. Now this is where this little formula really pays dividends here. We have no idea how big the mid-segment is, and we have no idea how big the third side is. But remember, 2 times the mid-segment is equal to the long side. So 2 times the mid-segment is equal to the long side. So I'm going to write that. 2 times the length of the mid-segment is equal to the long side. And there's the expression I'm trying to solve. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 2 is positive 4 equals x plus 10. So in class what we did was just double this to get it down here. And we were getting a lot of incorrect answers. I said this was our equivalency ratio. So either way, we get the same expression. We'll try and solve for that. I would subtract an x from both sides. And then subtract 4 from both sides. Always, always, always check your work. 6 plus 2 is 8. And 6 plus 10 is 16. And it says that the mid-segment is half the length of the third side. So all the math works out pretty there. Alright, so same thing here. We have, looking for a midsegment, find SU. So what's the length of this side? And let's go back and make sure we answered. EF is 8. Find SU, so we're looking for this length right here. We're still going to use the same math we used earlier though. 2 times the midsegment is equal to the length of the long side. So 2 midsegments, 2 times the midsegment is equal to the length of the long side. And we're going to start mathing through that. So we'll distribute 2 times x is 2x. 2 times -2 is -4 equals x plus 3. Subtracting x from both sides. Add 4 to both sides. And you get x equals 7. So let's plug our numbers back in and make sure they work. 7 plus 3 is 10. And 7 minus 2 is 5. And 5 is half of 10. 10 is 2 times 5. So everything is perfect there. So number 11 looks pretty similar to your quiz. It says write the equation for each midsegment of triangle ABC. So in this problem, you're looking at triangle ABC, and you have to find the midsegment for each one. Then you have to find the equation for each midsegment. So it's a lot of information going on here. We tried to give you guys a nice triangle that will give you a little bit of success. So you have to remember a midsegment does what? A midsegment is a line that connects midpoints of triangles. So in this triangle down here, we can kind of count this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So half of 8 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the midpoint for side BC. You can do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Half of 10 is 5. So there's a midpoint. So we have this midsegment right here. Let's go ahead and calculate the equation of that one. So when we calculate, we need to find the midsegment of this one. Line AC. So we went up 8 and over 10 to get from one end to the other. If I do half of that, I go up 4 and over 5, it'll get me to the midpoint. So this is a midpoint. And I'm going to draw 3 different color lines. We got a red line to find the equation of. We have a green line and a blue line that we need to find the equation of. Okay, the green line is probably the easiest one, or maybe one of the easier ones. That is a vertical line going through the number 0, or at the value x equals 0. So that green line is the equation x equals 0. It's a vertical line. It has an undefined slope. There's nothing else we can do with it but say x equals 0 because it goes through the number 0 right here. Let's talk about the red line. The red line is a horizontal line. So the red line has a 0 slope. So we have 0 x's. And we need to find the y-intercept. Where does it go through the y-axis? Right here at -5. So we don't write the 0 x's. We just write y equals -5. So we have 2 equations right now. Now we're looking for the blue line. What is the equation of the blue line? We need to count the slope of the blue line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 5. So my blue line has a slope of down 4 over 5. And we need to find the y-intercept, which is right here at -1. So using all of this information, I should be able to write the equation. Y equals a slope of down 4 over 5 x with a y-intercept of -1. So equation, 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 those are all three equations that describe the midsegments of those lines. Alright, ABC has vertices says what is the area of this triangle? So you need to use that formula 1/2 times the base times the height. So you need two things. You need a base and a height. If you recognize that this line right here and this line right here are perpendicular to each other, then you know that this is 90 degrees. Once you can determine that that line is 90 degrees, you could call this the height, and you could call this the base, and these are two things you can count the length of. And we did that in the last problem. So you could use 1/2 times the base times height to find the area of that triangle. What is the equation for the altitude from y in triangle XYZ? So now we're looking at this triangle up here, and we're looking for what is the equation from the altitude, the equation of the altitude from y. So we talked about this in class. If we're looking for the equation of the altitude from y, you have to understand that altitude looks something like this. It's going to go down through xz. So we need to, one, find the slope of xz. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to count the slope from x to z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The slope from x to z is up 5 over 10, aka also known as the slope of xz is 1/2. Alright? Now, remember that an altitude is perpendicular to xz and goes through y. So I need to take this 1/2 and I need to find what is perpendicular to it. So flip it and change it from positive to negative. So if I have a slope of -2 over 1, then that will be perpendicular to xz. All right, remember that an altitude must go through y, through a vertex, and be perpendicular to the other side. So when I apply this slope, I'm going to start here at y. I'm going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. And it's going to generate this line from here to here, which is perpendicular and goes through the vertex. So that little bitty orange line is what we're looking for. So we need to write an equation. What is the equation of the altitude? So I need to keep graphing until I find the y-intercept. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. So I know my slope, and now I've found my new y-intercept. So my equation would be y equals -2x minus 1. That's the equation that describes the altitude from y in triangle XYZ. List the sides from shortest to longest. So just make sure you guys are remembering short, medium, long. You're going from short to long and not long to short. I like to say large, medium, small. We're going from shortest to longest. Line segment LK, line segment JL, and line segment JK. Alright, you guys did pretty well with this in class. So this is another one that says list the angles from largest to smallest. For our Hinge theorem, it says write the inequality relating to the given links. Remember, I have two congruent sides. These two sides are congruent to these two sides. And I have a 44-degree angle here and a 66-degree angle here. This is a bigger angle. This is a smaller angle. So when you list it, it says JL is bigger than MO. And you just say the gator eats the bigger number. Same thing here. We have this side, which is, and we have this triangle with these two angles. So 35 is bigger than 30. Oops. So that means that ST is bigger than BT. So again, remember, look at those triangles in your notebook to make sure you can understand what each triangle looks like. This is pretty much the basis of your review.